What's up guys, welcome to the next part of the hack and slash tutorial series. In this video we're going to work on the HUD and the UI. As you can see, the player has a health bar and the player can take damage and can die. So once we got AI set up with damage systems, we can just have the enemy apply damage to the player and we're done. We don't need to implement any more health or anything like that. We also implemented a health bar for our enemy. We also gave it a targeting icon so we can know who we're targeting and who specifically. The enemy health bar does update. So attack it, as you can see, literally half of the HP is gone. That's because the enemy's health is at 100 and my damage at 50. And if I kill it, all the UI disappears because it's no longer relevant. And so if you guys want this project file, join me on Patreon. Without further ado, let's start it. So welcome back to the next part of the hack and slash tutorial series. In the last video, we worked on expanding our combo system. So now we have charge attack, dash attacks, and dodge attacks. Now there is a small issue with the charge attack. If you do your heavies and then your charge, your heavy attacks will not reset. And so we have done this a lot of times, so I want to see if you guys are able to fix this issue on your own. If you're not, head over to Discord, seek help. If I'll be more than happy to help you if I'm available. But I want to see if you can solve this issue on your own. So in this video we're going to work on the health and UI system. We're going to start with the enemy first since he already has health. We want to display those, and then we want to work on death and health for our player as well. So let's start by making a UI for our enemy. Search up, just make a new folder, call it UI. Let's make a new widget blueprint, user widget, WBP health or health bar. Let's open it up. Now here on the settings on the top right, we want to select desired and then want to search for a vertical box. It's going to be very tiny, and that is normal because we're setting it to desired instead of fit to screen. And next thing we want is a progress bar, and then we want some text as well. So now this text, I want to lower the font a little bit when we set it to right center, and that should be good enough for now. Now to add this to our enemy, we want to head over to our base enemy class, and we're going to select the mesh and add a widget component. And then in the widget settings, we want to add our health bar. Compile, head over to viewport. And let's just move this widget above the head. Right here in draw space, you want to select screen, and then here in the draw size, that's how you change how big or small you want the text to appear. So I'm going to try 150 for both, see how that looks. Let's hop into the game world. So 150 is kind of small, so I might change that back to maybe around 250. To try. So much better. We could anchor that a bit higher. So anchor this a bit higher. Now this might be a bit different how I did in the old series, but generally it's the same idea. This one's a little bit better. Still kind of in its face though. Can move this higher, maybe. Yeah, maybe that's a bit too high, so let's move it down a little bit to around 150. Nope, there we go. That's a lot better. Nope, so we can attack. Now let's set up the health bar. First things first, we want to set this color health to red. Now in the event construct, actually, we won't be using any of the construct. We're just going to have a custom event here and call it update health. And what we're going to need is a variable, call it enemy owner. This is going to be BP underscore base enemy. And inside our base enemy class, you want to make sure we have a health stat. Let's rename this to current health. And then we need another float value, and it's going to be max health. And so we're not going to set the health directly to this this current health variable. What we're going to do is head over to our event graph, and on begin play, we want to set our values there. So this is buffer event. Let's get up. Let's make begin play. Here we're going to grab our current health. So set our current health, and then we want to set our current health to our max health. And then here we're gonna grab our widget, and then we're gonna get widget, and then we're gonna cast it to WBP health bar. And then here we're going to set the enemy owner. So set enemy owner, and the enemy owner is gonna be self. Let's select self. Now, after we set our enemy owner, we want to update health. And the health bar should be updated. Now, we still need to do all the functionality for it. Just 1 second, we need to compile this. And then that should compile. Yep. Now, here in the math, we're going to grab our enemy owner. We want to check it's valid. Now, if it is valid, we want to update the health. First things first, want to get max health. And then we want to get current health. What we're going to do is our current health divided by our max health will give us the percentage, and then we want to set that to the progress bar. So here we want to set progress, set percent, and then we're going to plug that in here. Now I believe that should do the trick. Now first things first, we still need to set a value for our health. So 100 is going to be my base health. If we hit play, the health is updated. If we attack, the health bar does not update, so let's work on that next. So to open up our damage EG, and here before we set our health, so where do we set our health? Should be here somewhere, right here. So right before we set our health, what we want to do actually first is, okay, yeah, so should we check here if our dead first day? Okay, so this is fine. What we want to do is want to update our health after we damage it. So after we damage our health, want to update our health widget. So head over to our main event graph and let's create a variable for our widget. So right here, let's create a variable and call it health bar. Spelled that wrong. Health bar. Right. Now in our damage event graph, right here, we're going to grab our health bar, and then we're going to update health. Make a reroute node here with this pin. Let's give it a test. So the health bar does update. As you can see, it's dropping very slowly, but it's still dropping. Pretty sure my damage isn't that high right now, so it's alright, but it's working. And now let's work on that text. Now this text box we're going to use for the execution. For now, let's set the name to execute. Set the text to execute. Let's get it like a very close to transparent, but not all the way transparent. So like 0.45. Just so you can kind of see it, but it's not like super visible. Right, so it's kind of like faded out, and once it is visible, we'll make it like red, so it gives that visual cue that the enemy can be executed. Perfect. So let's actually try killing the enemy, see if that the health bar does update when we kill the enemy. So let's set our damage. So right now set to 1, so let's set it to 50. So now let's see if we damage our enemy. Boom. And then if we damage it one more time, okay. Yep, so the enemy dies. Okay. Now we still need to like show the widget or show the health bar and hide it. We're gonna do that later, but first let's handle the death and health for our player. So let's make a new variable, call it current health. Make another float variable. It's gonna be a float, make another float, call it max health. Now similar to our enemy, we're going to create We're also gonna set our current health in the begin play. So right here in begin play, let's make a sequence node. On the second pin, we want to set our current health to our max health. And once we set our current health to max health, we want to create a widget. And then here we need to create a widget. So let's find our UR folder, create a new user widget, and call it HUD, WPP HUD. Here we want a canvas panel, and then we want a progress bar. Progress bar, we're gonna anchor to the bottom left. Let's set the size on the Y to like 100, maybe 50. Okay, and then set the X to 150, 500. Okay, and then let's offset this a little bit. So minus 50, and then 50. Awesome. Now let's also change the color on this as well. Oh, I think I changed the color back. My bad. Here, here, and here. Okay. Now here we are going to use the construct. So we're going to grab a construct, and we're going to get controller, get player controller. We're gonna get, or we can actually just get our player pawn, or get player character. And then here we're going to cast to our owner. So cast to BP package/character. And then here we're going to create a variable. So we're gonna promote the variable, call this owner. Now similar to our enemy, we're gonna need another custom event, call it update health. And then we want to grab our progress bar and we want to set %. We also want to grab our owner, check for validation is valid. Whoop. Let's grab the macro is valid. Can't type today. There you go. And then you want to grab our max health and our current health. So get current health. And then we want to get max health. So get max health. Okay, we want to divide the two. And then we can plug it in. Nice. So that's all working. That's all good. Now here we want to create our widget. We want to update our health. So let's create a variable first. Call this HUD widget, and then want to add this. We want to add this to viewport. Add to viewport, and then we want to update the value. So we want to update health. Okay. Now if we give this a try, we should also have a health bar for the player. If we actually set some values, so let's get our max health. Let's set it to 100. For our player, max health 100. Let's also make a category for this, call it stats. Yeah, so we already have a stats called damage, so that's good. Now let's compile. That's if we play. There you go. Now we have a health bar for our player as well. Now we also need to update the health bar for our player. So similarly, let's open our damage EG. So right here, when we play montage, similar to our enemy, what we're going to do is we're going to take the damage first, so we don't have to cast. Because if the player dies, casting would just mean it's just extra work on the computer. But typically you do want to do the cast and check, just to make sure that we actually are receiving a valid damage. But in our case, I know that we're not going to have too much different damage types, and so it's alright. So right here in damage, we're going to grab our current health. We're going to subtract that. We're going to subtract our current health from our damage. So damage minus our current health minus damage. And then we set that to our new current health. And then want to check if we are dead. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull out and grab a branch. True. So right here, if our health is greater than 0, then we can play the hit reactions, but if it's less than or equal to 0, then it's going to perform death. In between here, we're going to grab our widget, and then we're going to update health. Health, Next thing I'm gonna do is make like a basic input just so we can test if we can take damage. So let's open up our keyboard P, and so keyboard P, we're going to apply damage. Damage actor will be self. Amount of damage will be 10. And then damage type, I don't think we need that. Let's give this a test. So everything's working. We can take damage, and our health bar does update as expected. Now let's work on the death for our player first, and then we finish off with setting up the hiding and showing up the health bar for the enemy. So let's create a new function. Here in the damage, let's make perform death. Now let's pull this in here, and what we're going to do is we're going to set state. Set state to death, play animation. So play on a montage, and then this is going to be a variable and call it death montage. And then after this, we're going to get our controller, get player controller, get player controller, and then want to disable input. Now you might want to do something else when the player dies, like show a new widget screen, restart the level. You can do that right after you play the animation, but for me, I'm just gonna have it disable input. But of course you should have like an end screen or some way to restart the level. But in just my case, very simple, just stop all input, and so we have to reset the editor for that. Let's head over to our assets. We should have a death animation that we use for our enemy. We could still use it for our player as well. So if we check, there's no anim notifies, just the animation, so the same thing. So let's plug that in here. Now last thing we need to do is actually call a function, so when we die, perform death. So now let's test it by making that same little test. Keyboard P, let's apply damage, and make this like 10, and then damage actor will be set. Okay, now let's see. Nice. So the player dies, and the player can no longer move or perform any actions because the input are disabled. Alright, perfect. So next thing is to work on the health bar. And so what we're going to do first is in the settings for the widget blueprint or the widget component in the base enemy class, I want to search for visibility, and we want to render, we just want to disable that, and we can set the visibility by code. So let's see, do we have a function for it? Event graph, buffers, get up, damage, nothing. Okay, we can make a new event graph, and let's call it targeting EG. So we need two functions here, or two events. We want to get on targeted, or make a custom event, call it on targeted, and then make another custom event and call it end target. So what we're going to do here is we're going to grab our widget and want to set visibility. So when we target the enemy, we should set the visibility to true. If we stop targeting the enemy, we want to set visibility to false. Now let's test that. Actually, we can't test anything yet because we haven't even coded it yet. Let's head over to our player character and head over to the targeting event graph. When we try to find enemy, so this is the tick, so this is the event. So here what we do is on start target event, what we want to do is before we set a actor, so right here, when we find a valid actor, what we want to do is call on target function. Same thing down here, I want to call the on target function. Now in the end target, so end target, right here, we want to actually do a branch node before we clear the value. So here, let's do it is valid. So what we're going to do is grab our get target actor. And if it is valid, we're going to try to cast to BP base enemy. So if it is valid, we try to cast a BP base enemy and call it end target. And then we clear it. But if the target actor is not valid, then we can just clear the variable and not do this part. Awesome. Now another thing we want to do is probably on death, when the enemy dies, we should also just hide the health bar because now it's no longer relevant. So let's maybe the death, when the enemy dies and we disable target, it probably already does it for us. But let's check. So right now the health bar is not seen. We lock on the enemy. There it is. Now if we kill the enemy, yep. So when we kill the enemy, the health bar automatically disappears. So we don't need any extra code for that. Now funny thing is I cannot move. So my rotation to root motion doesn't work. Or does it? Maybe my keyboard is not working with me right now. Okay, so it's working. Never mind. Wait, hold on. It's not working. Okay, so that's maybe a small little issue. Now what we're going to check is our notify. So let's head over to our hack/slash folder, blueprints, notifies, and let's see, rotation, motion, and here it is. So when the enemy dies, let's check our tick function here. So when the enemy dies, not equal to death, we end target. And that should also clear this too. Very interesting. Alright, because we end target, starting, valid actor. Now, we could just do a test here, so we can just make a sequence node, and then we just print string. And then let's just plug in this. Set the duration to like 0.01, key to some random key, and then let's give it a test. Right now it's false. If it is true, we're going to kill the enemy. It's false again, but I still can't move. Or can I? Yeah, so that's just, okay, yeah, so I cannot move. Now let's see, is it because we have a soft locked actor? Get soft lock actor. And let's check for validation. Let's plug this in and check. Because we should not have a actor. So we do. Something is hitting true right now. So the trace, so our soft lock system seems to be tracing that. So let's head over to our targeting system and check for our soft lock, find soft lock target. Okay, so here is what we're gonna do. We're gonna have to cast here. As much as I hate it, we're gonna have to. So first things first, let's cast to enemy. Enemy. What we're gonna do here, you actually delete this is valid node, because if the enemy is not if the targeted actor is not an enemy, we don't want to even do anything. If the cast has failed, we want to do that. What we want to do is also get current state, and then we want to check if it's equal or not equal to, not equal enum. It's not equal to death. Make a branch node. So on true, if it's not equal to branch, then we can target. If it is equal to death, let's do nothing. So a little small thing that I missed, but we were able to find the issue. Nice. So let's give it a try. We shouldn't have that issue anymore. So let's give it a try. Bam, bam. Great. So it's working again. Nice. Now, the last thing I want to do is work on a targeting widget, just like the dot, like you see in targeting, like a target lock-on icon, whatever you want to call it. So let me import that, and so I have successfully uploaded the targeting widget or the icon, and so let's make the UI for that. In the hack/slash folder, UI, make another user widget, calls WP lock-on. Now what this one's gonna do is just appear an image, but first let's set the mode to desired, plug in the image. And then for the brush image, we're gonna search for lock-on icon. There you go. And now for our base enemy, we're gonna do the same thing. Let's duplicate this. And here, set the visibility false. And then we also want to change this to the lock-on. This one, I think I'm gonna set to like 100 by 100. Now what we're gonna do is on target. So let's open our target EG. Let's pull off our lock-on widget. So let's rename this lock-on widget. And we want to set visibility. And then just copy and paste that over. Now here, on target, we want to set that true, on false. So here we go. There it is. It's kind of large and it's in its face. So let's change the size here a little bit, maybe by 80, maybe to like 75 by 75. Head over to viewport. And let's lower this a little bit, maybe around here. Okay, that's a bit too low. Okay, that is much better. Yeah, we can even go slightly higher. Okay, by 20. Nope, so that's much better. Yeah, so everything seems to be working as of now. Let's unlock onto spheres. Our soft lock system will not detect dead enemies anymore. Nice. So that does mark the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one.